Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION The World. I'm Shivan Janna. This is Speed News. Let's start. Trump ducked the question on the United States doing trade with Russia. When questioned by the reporter, President Trump said he is unaware that the US imports uranium and fertilizers from Russia. India had pointed to the US trade imports from Russia when Trump threatened to hike the 25% rate tariff on India due to New Delhi buying military equipment and oil from Russia. Trump suggested that Vice President J.D. Vance is most likely to be the heir apparent to Make America Great Again movement. The statement is being viewed as Trump backing Vance as a future presidential candidate for the U.S. Trump also proposed that Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio join for a future Republican ticket. Donald Trump has said that a decision over whether to fully occupy the Gaza Strip is pretty much up to Israel. This as he declined to support or oppose the potential expansion of Israeli military activity in the enclave. The comments come as Benjamin Netanyahu met with senior security officials amid reports that he wants to stage a complete military takeover of the Strip. Netanyahu and Trump are reportedly working on a deal that presents Hamas with an ultimatum to release the hostages and agree to terms to disarm whether the war will continue. In a major escalation of the controversy surrounding the probe into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, U.S. lawmakers subpoenaed former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for testimony. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed the Justice Department for files in the sex trafficking investigation and sought depositions with the Clintons and 8 former top law enforcement officials. The Clintons are among multiple former Democratic and Republican government officials targeted by investigators. Trump said that he has narrowed his potential choices for heading the Federal Reserve to 4 candidates, adding that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is no longer in the running. Trump did not specify the full list of people that he was considering. However, Bessent has been viewed as a possible pick by the president as Fed Chair Jerome Powell's term at the helm of the independent central bank ends May 2026. With the president repeatedly criticizing the Fed's determination to hold off interest rate cuts, all eyes are now on Trump's decision. South Korea's former First Lady Kim Kyun-hee apologized as she appeared for questioning by investigators on a string of corruption charges. Kim faces allegations of participating in a stock price manipulation scheme, meddling in 2022 parliamentary by-elections and the 2024 general elections, and allegedly receiving luxury gifts in exchange for business favors. Kim Kyun-hee is the first spouse of a former or sitting president to publicly appear as a suspect in a criminal investigation. Both Kim and ex-President Yoon Suk-yeol are under separate investigations by special prosecutors appointed after he was impeached and then removed from office for briefly declaring martial law, which lasted all of 6 hours. Dozens of supporters of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro rallied in Sao Paulo, waving flags and chanting slogans demanding amnesty and denouncing Supreme Court Judge Alexander de Moraes. Criminal lawyer for Neil earlier warned that former Brazilian president could be sent directly to prison if he violates any precautionary measure again. A Brazilian judge placed the far-right leader under house arrest for breaking a social media ban, escalating a dramatic standoff between the court and the politician who is accused of plotting a coup. Japan is marking 80 years since the atomic bombing of Hiroshima with a silent prayer and ceremony reminding the world of the horrors unleashed. Attendees at Hiroshima's Memorial Park commemorated in the wee hours those who lost their lives in the atomic bombing of the Japanese city 80 years ago. As they did so, many aging survivors expressed their frustration at the growing support among global leaders of acquiring nuclear weapons as a deterrent. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba offered his condolences to victims of the Hiroshima atomic bombing. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said the divisions within the international community over nuclear disarmament are deepening and the current security environment is becoming increasingly severe. The interim leader of Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus, has made a major announcement that the country will hold elections in February next year. Announcement comes as the country marks 1 year since the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. While addressing the media, Yunus said that elections will be concluded before Ramzan next year and also added that as the leader of a caretaker government, he will step down after the vote. In Argentina, specially abled people and their families confronted riot police outside Argentina's Congress in Buenos Aires. This as the demonstrators demanded the reversal of President Javier Milei's veto of disability protection legislation. The emotional protests featured demonstrators on crutches and in wheelchairs pushing against police barricades. The Federal Highway Police in Brazil seized 103 kilograms of gold from a pickup truck in Roraima, which is the largest seizure ever made by the agency. The seizure is said to be worth more than $11 million. The seizure happened in Boa Vista, the capital of the state of Roraima, and it resulted in the arrest of a driver transporting the gold. The driver, who is a 30-year-old man, was traveling with his wife and child. An initial search uncovered a small amount of gold, and after a more thorough inspection, more than 100 gold bars hidden in the vehicle's dashboard were found. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party marked the second anniversary of the arrest of their leader and former Prime Minister Imran Khan, holding rallies in cities throughout the country. According to the party, more than 240 supporters have been jailed. Hundreds of party workers and supporters took to the streets of Karachi despite heavy police presence. They held demonstrations on bikes, rickshaws and other vehicles carrying posters of Khan and party flags before police dispersed them by firing tear gas shells. According to the PTI, a heavy police presence thwarted most rallies, including the one in Lahore. where at least 7 provincial MPs and dozens of supporters were detained while trying to assemble. The US Transportation Department is proposing new rules to speed deployment of drones beyond the visual line of sight of operators. The proposal includes new requirements for manufacturers, operators and drone traffic management services to keep drones safely separated from other drones and aeroplanes. Under current rules, operators need to get individual waivers or exemptions to use drones without visual line of sight. Europe's first driverless train has made its debut journey, carrying passengers some 1,000 miles with the help of satellites and lasers. A Czech company operating a driverless autonomous train on a regular railway in an open environment claims it to be the first of its kind in Europe. The train, named Edita, uses cameras, sensors, satellite navigation and a digital map to collect information about its surroundings, with the system being able to stop the train in case of danger. In the wake of a devastating cloudburst in Uttarkashi's Dharali area, the Indian Army has ramped up rescue and relief efforts, with ground and aerial support being coordinated to assist the affected population. 4 people have died and over 60 others are still feared trapped. The Uttarkashi district administration is on high alert following heavy flash floods and landslides triggered by continuous rainfall. A red alert has been issued for extremely heavy rainfall, prompting the closure of all government and private schools as well as local centres. Local authorities have begun public announcements via loudspeakers, urging residents in low-lying areas and near riverbanks to evacuate immediately and move to safer locations. Canadian wildfire smoke is affecting Vermont's air quality again. More than 700 active wildfires burning across Canada, and about 2/3 are currently out of control, according to a Swiss air quality technology company. Detroit, Michigan and the Canadian cities of Montreal and Toronto recorded some of the worst air quality in the world on Monday. Firefighters in Maui are battling a brush fire burning above Kanapali, Hawaii. Officials asked motorists to avoid the area as smoke continues to impact the highway, necessitating the continued road closure. The blaze is just a couple of miles north of where the devastating Lahaina wildfires occurred nearly 2 years ago.
Oh my God, 2? What's happening?
Wildfires raged across Spain as the country is facing the second heat wave of the summer, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees Celsius in several areas. Spain is experiencing its second summer heat wave, which is forecast to persist until the end of the week. Spain's health ministry has issued red risk health alerts across hundreds of municipalities. The Reserve Bank of India's 6-member Monetary Policy Committee kept repo rate unchanged at 5.5% in its August monetary policy. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra said that the neutral policy stance continues even as the tariff situation continues to evolve. GDP growth forecast for current fiscal is pegged at 6.5%. The August policy announcement comes after the MPC meeting from August 4th to 6th. It was held amid the ongoing rising uncertainties around trade tariffs triggered by US President and moderation in headline inflation. Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee by Governor Sanjay Malhotra maintained interest rates at 5.5% and retained a neutral policy stance. The US dollar remained fixed in its recent trading channel, with investors choosing to stay on the sidelines after another round of weak data and as US President Trump prepared to fill a coming vacancy on the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. Trump said he will decide on a nominee by the end of the week and had separately narrowed the possible replacements for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to a short list of 4. Data out the same day also showed the US services sector activity unexpectedly flatlined in July, even as input costs climbed by the most in nearly 3 years. Still, those did little to sway the dollar as traders were hesitant to take on fresh positions ahead of news on who would fill the Fed board vacancy. While moves in the dollar have been more subdued this week, the currency has yet to recover from its steep losses on Friday. And oil prices climbed after rebounding from a 5-week low in the previous day. Concerns of supply disruptions after US President Trump's threats of tariffs on India over its Russian crude purchases are keeping markets volatile this week. Brent crude trades above $68 a barrel, while US oil trades above $65 a barrel. Commodity strategists at ING said there's still plenty of uncertainty over the US imposing secondary tariffs on buyers of Russian oil. They added that market chatter is growing and China's purchases of Russian oil may come into focus next. ING said if India were to stop buying Russian oil and amid these tariff threats, it believes the market would be able to cope with the loss of this supply. However, it sees bigger risk if other buyers also started to shun Russian oil. Gold prices edged lower due to a slightly firmer dollar, while investors held back from making big bets ahead of US President Donald Trump's decision on appointments to the Federal Reserve. Spot gold trades around $3,370 per ounce after hitting a near 2-week high on Tuesday. US gold futures trade around $3,400. Spot silver trades around $37 per ounce. Platinum is trading around $1,300, while palladium trades just below $1,200. And a bidding war has broken out between Premier League rivals Manchester United and Newcastle United over striker Benjamin Šeško. Both clubs have reportedly submitted competing offers for the in-demand RB Leipzig forward. The Red Devils have made an initial bid of just under $98 million for the 22-year-old centre forward. Meanwhile, Newcastle have tabled a second bid worth a similar amount, after their initial offer made on Saturday was rejected by the German Bundesliga side. Legendary rock musician Ozzy Osbourne, who died On the 22nd of July, at the age of 76, succumbed to a heart attack. The news was mentioned in his death certificate. The document filed in London states that Osbourne's primary cause of death was cardiac arrest, with other contributing factors including acute myocardial infarction and coronary artery disease.